Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm sorry about that. It's actually good afternoon. My name is Zach Clayton with Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, the Come Together Compass, and the Pact Podcasting Networks. I want to welcome you to a program that we started a couple weeks ago with our dear friend, Santa Claus. And we're doing this for a couple reasons. Santa and I have a show. Both of us have a show on Wednesday nights. And I want to make sure that we are sharing what he does. And I want to give him the opportunity to take and use the impact um, programs and networks to take and further his outreach, because I think what he is doing for kids everywhere, I think, is fantastic. And not just kids. He's doing this for adults. He's doing this for everyone because he's got a wonderful message. This first one that we're doing here is going to be very, very plain Jane. There's not a whole lot to it, not a whole lot of bells and whistles. We're not going to be doing a lot, partly because we are just now getting back into feeling like a human being again. A couple weeks ago, I started a program called What You Got. I restarted What You Got. And unfortunately, I felt very ill the last week with the flu and a lot of water in my lungs and everything, and I'm still battling that a little bit. I'm hoping to get back to What You Got by the weekend. Unfortunately, I get into coughing fits and I can't record. So right now we're just going to start with this. This is our stories of impact. This is a Cub Club project. We do this because we really want to make an impact with Santa, with what he's doing, and what we're trying to do here at Community Pay It Forward. One of the other things that I desperately do want to mention is that we have a brand new partner who has joined the Community Pay It Forward family. And I would like to give you an introduction to our guy, our brand new friend, Mr. Jordan, with Fitzgerald Builds.
Today we get to welcome a leader who doesn't just build systems, he builds momentum, clarity, and confidence. Please help me celebrate Jordan Templeton Harris, founder and president of Fitzgerald Built, as the newest member of our Community Pay It Forward giving family. He doesn't operate as a vendor, he operates as a force multiplier, a strategic partner who helps leaders. Whether an organization is growing, transforming, or trying to get unstuck, Jordan brings the operational intelligence and accountability that turn ideas into measurable outcomes. And now, he's chosen to stand with us, to make sure no one has to face a difficult moment alone. That's what makes this partnership special. That's what makes Jordan family. Please visit his profile, share his badge, and help us welcome him the way only this community can. Welcome to the family, Jordan. We're honored to walk this mission with you.
Welcome, Jordan. We do appreciate you joining us. Also, and just to make sure everybody does realize this, Santa is also a wonderful partner with us. And anytime that you make a transaction with Santa, he is going to give back to the cause of your choice. So if you own a wonderful group home and you're looking to do something, please contact Santa. He will read for you. If you have a classroom that you think could, use a little bit of help and spread a little joy, we would love to have you on board as well. So get a hold of Santa. You can do that by scanning the QR code above, and that will take you directly to him. Santa and I sat down for an interview, and this is about a 40-minute interview, and then after that, we're going to get to his stories. So here we go with Santa Stories of Impact. But first, here's our interview. He and I, we just sit around and joke and laugh and talk about things that we'd like to see happen. So here's Santa talking about what we're going to do together. All right. Sounds good.
All right, let's get this thing going.
All right.
Hit that record button.
Hey, everybody. How's it going? I've got the happiest man in the world with us, the Mr. Joyful himself, Mr. Jelly Belly, Santa Claus. How you doing?
You know, Mr. Zach, thank you for that wonderful introduction. Folks, joy has no season. That's the new tagline, and it seriously means everything. Folks, there's no reason why you can't share a smile with someone today. There's no reason why you can't say hello to someone today. If you are, well, you've got issues that you have to deal with, and that's why I'm doing this. This has truly changed my life and changed my world, and sharing smiles and happiness, and that's what these stories do. You know, these stories bring out a lot of great imagination, and they bring out a lot of positive energy for a lot of people.
You know, Santa, I agree with you so much, and it's amazing that people are so rude to each other in this time when it is so easy just to keep your mouth shut. If you don't have nothing nice, just smile, nod, and walk on. Why are people, and I hope somebody can tell me this sometime, but right now, why are people just so up in arms that they cannot accept people for who they are?
Good question, and you know, there's no right and there's no wrong answer to that one, Zach. You know, the world is gone to a goofy place. Now, you know, we're going to dig into the stories here a little bit, folks. I read stories not necessarily about the North Pole. I don't read stories not particular about Santa or the elves. Last night I read an amazing story about a koala. He was being too quiet. Not that Zach would know anything about that. But, you know, I read stories about a kangaroo. I read stories about a polar bear. You know, I want to share happiness with people, to spread different ideas of positivity and hope. There you go. I love that. You know, the polar bear that loved to hug too much, and his name was Bramble. You know, but folks, it's called opening up the imagination to what's real out there, what's not real. And, you know, my stories are positive, uplifting, and have a good moral fiber to them, which I'm finding a lot of parents that let their children watch these stories are coming back and saying, thank you, what a wonderful story.
You do have you got a wonderful message from a parent the other day. Please tell us about that.
You know, this parent has two beautiful autistic children, and I've met them both. And it was, you know, I was explaining to her that I'm finding that as I talk to more parents with autistic children, that the autistic children, depending on their severity of, what's the word I'm looking for, Zach, on the Richter
On the
scale,
scale, yeah, just on the scale.
on
Yeah.
the scale, that some are actually, most of them are very smart and they know how to operate electronics. Well, I was talking to her about this, and she says, well, I'm going to tell you a little secret. And I says, what's that? And she says, my son, who's the worst out of the two, if you say your stories are starting at 7 o'clock, he's on his tablet by 10:02, ready to go, doesn't need any reminders, doesn't need to be told, has it up, has it ready to go. He has your YouTube channel bookmarked, knows how to get onto it, and knows how to find your stories. So, folks, if autistic children that we all count as not very smart can do this, then you can do it very easily. And share my stories. My growth is starting to build on the stories. And you know, Zach, for a guy that, now here's the giggle, for a guy that needed a tutor to get through grade 10 English, because I hated English, I hated reading, I hated writing, and now mom and dad are both down looking at me going, haha, I told you you needed this English. And now, you know, I am reading these stories and I'm enjoying it so much and I'm having fun doing it. And when people are out in the audience listening to me, whether I'm doing it for nursing homes or I'm doing it on TV or on YouTube and stuff like that, it just puts a big smile on my face knowing that I am sharing some happiness.
Papa, I think that what you just said there is one of the things that we really want to impress in our children, that, you know, it doesn't matter what you don't do well, okay? You don't have to do things perfectly. If you work on them, they can become something you're very proficient at.
Oh, absolutely.
You don't have to be the perfect math genius to someday use math in a positive way. I was never very good in math, Santa, until I got a job that depended on me knowing
Yep.
math and measurements. I was cutting steel for buildings. And you know that if you cut even a 16th of an inch short, that's wasted steel.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, I mean, it's amazing that kids get so down on themselves when they're not good at something. Well, let you know, this is a message from me. Don't let yourself get defeated with that.
You
Just
know,
keep working
what?
at it because you are good enough as you are.
And I think you're nailing a very important subject that unfortunately society has a way of picking the negative instead of the positive, picking the negative. Oh, you're no good at this, you're no good at that, you can't do this, you can't do that. What about if you turn that around and say, yes, I can. Yes, you can do anything you want to when you put your mind to it. And these children are showing us that they don't need the instructions. They don't need to have their hand held. They can do it on their own with sometimes a little bit of encouragement. Now, I tell everybody that's listening to my stories, hey, if you love this story and you like it, hit that like remark. But more importantly, tell two of your friends because the more people that we can get listening to my stories, the more we're going to be able to share some happiness.
Yeah. Um, I and that's so important, you know, just even for business people. I know that you are really big on us getting together and sharing each other's posts and stuff like that. This is all part of growing. This is part of respect. It's part of a community working together to support one another. And it's an easy thing to do, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, the more we help and the more we support one another, the more we're all going to grow. And that's a key factor to any business, to any relationship, to any family. If you're in a hole, in a rut, or down in the ditch, or however you want to put it, just remember you can always get words of encouragement from anybody out there. But it's your mindset that says, I have to change, I have to dig myself out, and I have to climb the steps to knock on the door to find those new opportunities, to find the change that I might need to improve my life. And if we all remember that simple statement, we're all going to be better off.
Yeah. Well, Santa, you and I, we have our shows on the same day, but why don't you tell people when your show is, your where you read live, and then we'll talk about what we're doing here at Community Pay It Forward.
Absolutely. Every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Central, it's on Be Connected, which is a free program. I have links on, I put promotional videos and posters on 11 different platforms, folks. And I do almost 100 groups on Facebook. So there, don't give me an excuse. I can't find it or I can't see it because it's there. Trust me. All you have to do is look for Santa Papa John. I'm the one and only in the world. And, I've gained quite a few followers, folks. I'm well over 100,000 followers, and I truly appreciate all the support. But it's programs like Zach and conversations like this that moves it forward even another step or two because we can share positivity that we're willing to share with the world.
Yet we're trying to get it to where um, I'm considering moving nights so we can work together even better. But of course, the logistics of that is going to take a little while and getting everything done. So there's a lot of stuff there. But for right now, what we're doing with Community Impact, which is our Wednesday night show, and the Pack channels, is we're going to play Santa's stories the following week on Tuesday, coming up at 6 p.m. East. So they're early enough to where kids all over can be there. Parents, you can be there. You can watch this, and you can help Santa out. Okay, because Santa wants to do something very, very special for some very, very needing people. People who are in homes, and sometimes joy is hard to find. John, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're doing with group homes, please?
Well, absolutely. It's a new program that I've through the power of networking, Zach. Everybody gives me little tidbits on how to improve, and of course, you take some and you throw them some to the curb. We've all seen that, we've all heard that, and we all know that. But someone said this idea to me, and I hummed and hawed, and I thought about it for a couple months, and I thought, I talked about it to just a few little people, and they went, wow, the impact that could have could be incredible. And what it is, folks, is a 1 hour interactive program like on this, like a Zoom format, where I'm reading stories to nursing homes, senior care, assisted living, group homes with autistic children, because we all know we've heard the stories, we've seen the stories where these beautiful people don't get much interaction with the public. And if there's a way I can read stories, can you imagine? I'm reading a story and I know I'm reading some stories to a nursing home, and all of a sudden I say, "Hey, Billy, how was breakfast? Oh, Susie, you look beautiful in that pink dress today." Or, "Mary, what a wonderful new hairdo." Can you imagine their face, Zach? Their faces are going to light up like a Christmas tree because I'm suddenly paying attention to the people out in the audience. And that's the whole object of this. And, this one is a little bit of a paid program, but it's cheap. I mean, pennies on the person, depending on the size of the nursing home. But you know what? It's as I talk to more people and open more doors and knock on more doors, people keep telling me what a wonderful idea to share happiness and bring some smiles to some much needed residents.
Yeah. Um, I knowing people, and I've worked in homes before, that and I know how important that is to allow people to come out and be creative or be entertained. And one of the things that you do, John, is you put together personalized stories for people. And you can, if you scan the QR code above John's head, above Santa's head right there, you will go to his page and you will see a story that he created for my 7 grandkids. And this one he created about 2 years ago. So, he's been doing this for a day or two, and it's perfect because he says every child's name and he puts every child into a different situation. It was so beautiful, and I greatly appreciate that. So, but yeah, Santa, the stories that you tell, like you've already mentioned, they're not all about Christmas.
No.
So they're just about caring.
Yeah. And stories of growing, stories of learning, stories of being nice to other people. And what a concept that is. And now
Right?
look at that. You bring up Santa's very new project that he is involved in. Stu and Lori are going to be putting together a variety late night show. These guys have been in the industry for over 30 years. They are wonderful, caring people with a lovely saying, peace, love, and joy, which goes along with what Santa does. But they're giving a new lips just trying them out. See that brand new Toyota down there? I am going to be part of giving away a car a month for over a year. But the cool part about it is we're going to fill that gas tank up for a whole year. And we all know the price of gas these days. I mean, that's almost worth more than the car is. But
Yeah.
folks, Stu and Lori are putting this wonderful variety program together. They do a lot of work with veterans, which Zach and I both really, truly appreciate and understand and know the loving and wonderful ability to help and share and care about our wonderful veterans. But they're going to be putting a big telethon together here, folks. And the reality of it is, their budget for that telethon is well over middle six figures. So they're
That's
not doing this as a Mickey Mouse show. They're not doing it as a little hip, well, we'll do this for a couple hours and see how we do. No, this is going to be a full-blown TV production telethon to raise money for a veteran organization. And that's just one of the things that these wonderful people do. So yes, I'm proud to be excited to be involved with them. And we never know where it's going to go, but I'm excited to say, do you want to win a car? Do you want to win a car with a year's supply of gas? Hit that website, subscribe, and your name will be entered into Stu and Lori variety show to be part of the ability to win a car. We're going to do that once a month.
well, I know that you announced this yesterday to us, and I was so excited for you that that's coming up because this is something. Look, we are in a partnership where when one person wins, we all win. This isn't, this isn't like a Walmart slash Kmart thing or Target thing. I know a lot of people don't even know what Kmart is, but
You're
so
dating
kind of
yourself
showing
there,
my
buddy.
age there, but so, but this is these are people I care about, and to see them succeed makes me feel great, and I love that. And I think that what you're doing, John, I've always supported everything that you do. I love what you do. You and I work together when it comes time for Miracle of the Season. You and I work together when it comes time for the 22-hour podcast. We try to do stuff all year long to keep each other moving, to keep each other, and it's tough sometimes. We're
Oh,
in,
it truly is. And I think the word you're looking for is motivated.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, because I don't think, a lot of people understand for a lot of these smaller nonprofits how easy it is to kind of, trip up and start losing that motivation because things just don't seem to go right all the time. That's
No.
the reason why people supporting programs like John, programs like Community Pay It Forward, programs like the small nonprofits in your community, supporting them is so important. And the easiest thing you can do, tell other people about them.
Yep.
That's simple.
You
Donations
know,
are beautiful.
like I
Donations,
said at our meeting yesterday, I started a brand new challenge that I'm doing on Sundays. On Sunday, I do a video every day, folks, to just to promote happiness and positivity. Which sometimes we all need sometimes we need a kick in the butt just to say, hey, change your attitude because having a lousy attitude is not going to get you anywhere. People are going to tune you off quicker than they can flip the switch. But when you're positive and happy and excited to be alive and happy to share and promote what you do. Well, on Sunday, I do a little video called Promote Your Friend's Small Business Sunday, where, I tell everybody how easy it is to support. You don't have to spend 10, 20, 30, 50, $100, not even one penny. And how do you support your friend's small business? You like and share and comment on their social media. And when they have a website, you share their website. And man, that is so easy to do. And when we do that for other people, it opens up the doors because the old proverb is, I have friends that you don't have, and you got friends that I don't have. And when we share, we open up the doors to that. But the new challenge that I'm doing, and I'm really getting blown away because you know, a lady that I network with, this is one of her big things that she says every month when we do her meeting is I challenge everybody to go onto LinkedIn if you're part of that community and repost 10 people's posts. It takes you a whopping 6 minutes. If you're lucky, if you're quick, you go click, click, click. Oh, this is a wonderful idea, people. You need to watch this. It takes you 6, maybe 7 minutes to do 10 posts. I had over 400 reactions the first time I did this. And I'm going, wow, that is absolutely powerful. Now, if we all had 10 people to do our post, Zach,
yeah,
can you imagine the how much the information that we tell every day would spread? I mean, simple math. Because remember, you tell two friends, you tell two friends. It's not multiplied by two, it's exponentially by two. Because you tell two friends, you tell two friends, you tell two friends. And all of a sudden, you're telling 128 people, they're telling over 1,000 and they're sharing over to 20,000. So, folks, it's those simple little things that we can do to support Zach and his incredible community Pay It Forward family and all his programs. And he's going to do it for me. I just hit a big number on YouTube. I've got over 200,000 views on my YouTube channel. Hey, it's not millions yet, but you know what? Each stepping stone is another big positive aspect because someone's watching.
John, like I was telling you yesterday, you know what? 200,000, that's perfect as long as you have that one person
Yep.
whose life you're changing. It doesn't matter if you only have one view. As long as you're doing something positive in their life, that's what's important. You can have 3 million views, but if it's people who are just listening to you as background, you know,
Yep.
hey, good, great, you're getting monetized. That's awesome.
Yep.
But if you can find that one person that you're changing their life, you're not wasting your time. You're not wasting anyone's time because you're changing someone's life. And that's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I do want to tell you, I don't know if you saw it, but yesterday as soon as we were done, I went on ahead and I hit LinkedIn and I started sharing
I
posts.
did see that.
So, and here's the funny thing. The first 5 posts I hit were either you or our brand new partner, Lori Cleverly.
Yep.
And 2 of those were stories she shared of yours. So I was resharing her reshare. So the first 5 posts, I think it was 1 for Lori and 4 for you. So
But there's the power,
yep.
because you don't know who's saying what about who, when, where, and why. But if we all, take 10 minutes, even if it takes you 10 minutes out of one day a week, take 10 minutes to repost someone's post. You never know who's watching and who's checking out someone else and going, hey, this looks like a really neat program. I need to check this out. And, Zach, the more eyes we can get on your program, on my program, you never know who's going to come and knock on the door. And that's the power of networking.
Look, that and what you're now doing with Stu and Lori, that's a perfect point because they came knocking on your door.
Yep.
You didn't search them out. Hey, I would like to add one other thing to what you were saying about, just sharing people. I know that we all have a tendency to go past these, hey guys, I really need posts. We all have a tendency to do that.
Yep.
Take a look at those and try to think back to a nonprofit that you know or a business that you know, a small business that you know that could satisfy their needs
Yep.
because you are supporting others while you're
I,
trying to help a person.
I'm going to introduce you to a lady I met last week. She started a foundation because her son was on the football field, 16 years old, and for some whatever reason, he dropped on the football field. Well, for some reason, the coach had stepped away for 30 seconds and nobody was able to get to this young man to give him CPR in that first initial 2 minutes that is so important. Well, unfortunately, that 16-year-old young man passed away. So
Yeah.
she started a foundation to say every sports team in high school or high school age children need to know CPR, need to know what to do when somebody drops on the field. And I thought, man, that's a powerful statement right there. And she's not dwelling in the loss of her child. She's wanting to take that loss and promote it into something amazing, something useful. And that's what you've done, Zach, with your program. You took a major loss and turned it into something amazing. And, for me, yeah, I was a lost cause anyway, but that's besides the point. I'm having so much fun. But this lady has turned around and created a wonderful thing. She's on the East Coast, and yeah, I'm going to be promoting her as well. She has a wonderful foundation that needs some attention because you and I both know we've got kids, we've got grandkids that played in high school sports or the soccer league or whatever kind of baseball league. This is important, and I truly believe that the kids can take 8 hours out of their time and learn how to do this and learn how to do it properly. Because what an amazing feeling to say you can save your buddy because something happened.
Yeah, John, I've got a grandson who had to be pulled off the field because he had a heart murmur.
Oh, yeah,
So, I mean, that hits home.
yep.
That really hits home. Hey, John, one more thing before we really once again promote Santa's Stories of Impact right here on the Pack channels. Tell us about Warriors Beacon of Hope, please.
Oh, absolutely. Warriors Beacon of Hope is another website that Santa has created and promotes, and it's all about doing work for our wonderful veterans. Yes, our veterans have sacrificed and they've given it all so that we are allowed to do what we love to do, Zach. And we all know veterans. We have a family member, we have a cousin, we have a friend, we have a friend's brother or sister or whatever. Yes, we can't forget the women because they were just important as part as the men are in veterans. They all gave their all, they gave 100%. But this website is creating a list of services, scholarships, and meetings to help our veterans find new ways to find. I mean, think about it this way. Bill lives in Seattle and he's going on vacation to St. Louis, and he's there for a couple days, and all of a sudden he needs to find a meeting because he's starting to think some nasty thoughts. Where does he even start to look? There is no national list to support meetings or services. And now, like I said, the scholarships, and soon to be coming is a wonderful new one with one of your wonderful sponsors of the show. Lori is a travel agent, and she's putting together a list for discounts for veterans for travel. I
Yeah.
thought, man, that is so awesome. And, why do they not deserve a discount?
You know, I know that Warrior Beacon of Hope is going to be a huge part of the Come Together Compass, which is just going to help more and more veterans find what they're looking for.
We're
And
not saying the VA is doing a bad job.
no,
We never will say that. But sometimes they have blinders to certain areas where they limit the amount of services in a certain area, which should never be when a veteran says, I'm on a waiting list that's 6 months out. Sorry, that's not acceptable.
no, no. The government sure as hell wouldn't have accepted if a person said, you know what, I'm gonna join, but I gotta wait for 6 months.
Yeah.
You know, the government, I'll go on ahead and step foot into that conflict, but it's got to be in 6 months because, I'm watching this program.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be accepted by the government, so it
Yeah.
shouldn't be accepted by
Absolutely.
the veterans. So,
Absolutely. So we need to tell your friends about this Warriors Beacon of Hope. It's not huge yet, but it's growing, and it's who knows when a veteran is going to look for something, and they turn to that page and they go, I can find something that I need.
boy, I'll tell you, Lori, her name's come up twice, you know, and she's getting a lot of run. She's doing so many good things.
Yes.
Her sons are autistic, so
Yep.
your programs are helping her. She's helping you. She's part of what we do. She's part of our family. She jumped in with both, with no parachute. She just
Yep.
jumped in and said, "Let's go," and I
Well,
love her
let
for
me
that.
just throw you what else she's got the power of doing, which is going to benefit whole but not only her children but the children of her schools.
Yeah.
She's going to get me to read stories to the children's school, and we can do it. They're from Arizona, and I think the last count is we're going to do this in 7 different schools, and I'm going to read stories for half an hour, 45 minutes, in an after-school activity for the children. So yes, folks, I'm looking at you out there. If you have a school, you run a daycare, or you're part of a nursing home, get in touch with me. I want to read stories to your children, to your friends' children, to your schools, to your group homes, because they need to smile and giggle and laugh just as much as everybody else
Yeah, and if you tell him that you found him through Community Pay It Forward, you're also going to be helping somebody that's asked for our help, and you get to decide who does that, who gets that help.
does. Yep. Yep.
So you're helping your own children or your parents, because don't forget the aged group loves Santa Claus. Okay, there's nothing better than grandma getting to hear Santa stories. She still loves him too, so don't ever forget that.
And
But
remember, Santa is not just November and December.
Nope.
Like I wear these shirts year round. My wife is an amazing seamstress. She makes these shirts for me. So this is how I dress year round. I can't disguise this, folks. It's there. It's been there for a long, 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 what are we, 1755 years old this year? I mean, don't I look over a day over 40? But that's the fun of it. My tagline now is joy has no season. And that's, when you think of it, it's just a powerful statement that means we need to share and care year round, and we need to share these wonderful things that Zach is doing, what I'm doing, what Lori's doing, and Stu and Lori are doing. We need to share those year round and create a bigger, healthier, friendlier community that has each other's back.
That's absolutely right. So please remember, Santa, when do you do the live shows, the live readings?
Every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Central. Follow the link on any of my social media, and it's free. Oh, wait, did I say free? Oh, wait, it's free. 7 o'clock Central every Wednesday night for 1 hour. I read stories, usually 3 stories, and you missed a good one last night. A koala learned how to speak up. Now, use your imagination on how that could be proactive.
Yeah, I know. I find it difficult to speak up every once in a while.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So,
Hey, folks, if you've seen how much we giggle and laugh, we do this every time we get together because we're best friends. We support each other. We have programs that we help not just you and your family, but your brother and your sister and your aunt and your uncle and your cousin and your school teachers' friends. There's no limit on who we can help. The only limit is where you say, I don't want to be a part of this and I don't want to share it. Well, with that kind of an attitude, we don't want you. But
yep.
everybody else is involved. They love what we're doing. They love the building that we're doing. They love the camaraderie that we support each other. And Zach has built an amazing community. And folks, if you want to be involved with Zach's community, reach out to Zach. I mean, as you can see, he hates to talk to other people and he doesn't like to communicate because he's a miserable, grumpy bear. And he's going to have you giggling and laughing and falling off your chair every time you have a communication with him. So, folks, Zach has an incredible program that helps so many people, but he can't do this alone. And that's all we're asking is if you like what you're seeing, you like what I'm doing, you like what Zach's doing, please share it out with 10 friends. That's all we're asking for.
Yeah.
If you share it to 10 and they share it to 10, who knows who's going to be knocking on our door next.
Look, one of the best things about what we're trying to do as a community, as a family, is yeah, there's benefits for us. But those benefits are way outweighed by what we're trying to do for others. And everything that we ask you to do is in support of other people. You don't hear us asking to do this for us. You hear us do something for someone you know, someone you love. Partly because they need your help. And it supports everyone. And we're not asking you to go out of your way and do amazingly difficult things. So make sure that you also, if you miss Santa's show for any reason, make sure that you join us on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. East for Santa's Stories of Impact right here on the PAC channel as we replay his shows because we don't want you to miss his shows. You know, I always tell people that, you know what, we'd love for you to come on and join us. But you know what? If you've got kids, make sure that you've got those kids pointed towards Santa Stories on Wednesday. And, you know, maybe go to another computer and mom and dad, you can come and check out Lynn's Day with us and get a reading.
We
So,
can't forget our sweetheart Lynn. She is an
oh,
amazing
no.
young lady that has a smile that goes from New Jersey all the way to Denver, folks.
Absolutely. She is one of the best, and I love her to death. So, but I love you, Papa, you know, but I always say blondes have more fun, and you prove it.
Absolutely.
But
You know what?
so
We're going to end this, Zach, with everybody needs to share a smile today with someone you don't know.
that's right. That's right. So, hey, please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to both of our channels. Uh, you can find him, Santa Papa John, anywhere. Just put it in Santa Papa John. It's going to pop up. Okay.
Absolutely.
So, anywhere you can find him. We are Community Pay It Forward. Just look for us. We're going to pop up somewhere. So, but like, share, subscribe our stuff, support our programs, support people you love, and help the communities you're in. Because remember, when you're not helping someone, you're hurting everyone. No one needs to go it alone when we all come together. Papa, thank you so very much for this.
What a great conversation, buddy.
I appreciate it. We'll see you guys next time. Boy, that guy sounded a little sick. I hope he stays away from me. So that Zach guy on there, he sounded a little ill. He sounded like he was coming down with something. I hope he stays away from me. But John, wonderful man. I just, quite honestly, one of the better individuals, one of the biggest hearts I've ever met. And folks, I've met a lot of people. I've been around a day or two. I've seen, and I know a lot of good people, but John is just, he's really amazing. And these next stories, by the way, the one he was talking about, the koala bear that learned how to talk, you're going to hear it in just a couple minutes. So we're going to start now with our regular show. This usually just kicks off into the stories. But I wanted to play the interview with John because I thought it was really important that you get to meet the man behind the voice, the man, the myth, the legend. Oh, and him saying that he didn't look anything over, a day or two over 40, 40, don't buy that. 40 decades? Maybe pushing 40 decades. But, yeah, a day or two over 40? Come on. He looks good for an old guy, though. I will give him that. So, and a guy with over 3 million miles behind him. So, that drags on you a little bit. So, once again, you can get to Papa by scanning the QR code that you see in the corner, okay? Anytime that you need to talk to him. And look, here's the deal. If you need to talk to him and you would like an introduction to him, please just reach out to me, Zach at communitypayitforward.us, ZAK at communitypayitforward.us. Now, kids, moms, dads, ladies and gentlemen, people and pets, I'm proud to bring you my friend, after these one real quick request from you.
Hey friends, I've been thinking, we all have our strengths, right? There are things I'm great at and things I'm definitely not great at. I can talk to anyone, anywhere, but ask me to add something to a website or an app. Yeah, that's where things get a little messy. Oops, I love speaking, I love sharing stories. But social media, all those hashtags, algorithms, trends, that's a jungle I still haven't mapped out. Now, coming up with ideas that bring people together, that's my sweet spot. But bookkeeping, let's just say numbers, and I have agreed to stay in separate corners. And you know what? That's okay, because someone out there is good at those things. And when we work together, that's when the magic happens. Community Pay It Forward has never been about one person. It's a program built by many to support even more. Every single one of us brings something special to the table. We all have talents that make us strong on our own, but imagine how powerful we become when we combine them. That's the heart of Community Pay It Forward. Your skills, my skills, our hearts, working side by side to make a real difference. So tell me, what are you good at? Let's discover it together. Visit communitypayitforward.us and join the movement.
Ho, 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 coming close now. Ho, 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 coming close now, my merry friends. Pull your blankets up nice and snug, settle your hearts, and let the world glow just a little quieter. Because tonight's story is one filled with wonder, hope, and a dream that grew into something very special. Deep in the North Pole village, where the workshop windows glowed golden against the snowy night and the air was always filled with the gentle hum of joy, there lived a toy maker named Elias. Now, Elias was not the fastest toy maker, he was not the loudest, and he's certainly not the one who could juggle 3 paintbrushes while singing and hopping on one foot. That was Jingle, and no one had asked him to stop yet. No, Elias was something different. He was careful, thoughtful, and very, very quiet. Elias loved making toys, not just any toys. He loved making toys that felt, well, special. The kind that made a child's eyes grow wide, the kind that were held just a little tighter, the kind that seemed to whisper, "You matter." Now, the other elves bustled about building trains, dolls, puzzles, and sleds, and cheerful flurries of activity. Elias worked at a small bench near the window. He carved slowly, painted gently, and often paused to think, sometimes for quite a while. "Well," said Jingle one morning, bouncing over with a half-painted drum, "you've been staring at that block of wood for so long, I'm beginning to think you're waiting for it to introduce itself." Elias smiled softly. "I'm trying to imagine what it wants to become." Jingle blinked. "It's wood." He said, "It wants to become a toy." "Yes, Elias, but which toy?" Jingle leaned in close to the block. "Well," he said, whispering, "if you're in there, now would be a good time to speak up." Elias chuckled. But when Jingle hopped away, Elias grew thoughtful again. Because you see, Elias had a dream, a quiet dream, a dream he hadn't told anyone, not even me, Santa. Elias wanted to create a toy unlike any other, a toy that didn't just entertain but helped a child feel brave or kind or hopeful. He wanted to make something that stayed in a child's heart long after the wrapping paper was gone, but every time he tried, something felt, not quite right. One day he carved a beautiful wooden bird. It flapped its wings when you pulled a string. It chirped when you pressed a tiny button. It even had a little painted sparkle in its eye. It's lovely, said another elf. Clover? Yes, Elias said gently, quietly, but it doesn't feel finished. Another day he built a small toy boat with a polished sides and a sail that fluttered like it had a mind of its own. It's perfect, said Clover. Elias stood, shook his head. It's missing something. What? Elias paused. I don't know. Days turned into weeks. The workshop grew busier. Snow fell deeper outside. Christmas crept closer, one twinkling moment at a time, and still Elias searched for his dream. One evening, after all the other elves had gone to rest, Elias sat alone at the workbench. The lantern light flickered softly. Snow tapped gently at the window, and Elias rested his head in his hands. I want to make something that matters, he whispered. Just then, there was a soft knock at the workshop door. Tap, tap. Elias blinked. At this hour? He walked to the door and opened it. Standing there, wrapped in a cozy red coat, with a smile as warm as cocoa by the fire, was me, Santa, Santa Papa John. Ho, 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 said me. Gently, still working, are we? Elias straightened out at once. Oh, Santa, I didn't mean to stay so late. Santa waved a kind hand. Some of the best work happens in quiet moments. Elias nodded, though his eyes drifted back to the unfinished toys on his glaze. Santa followed his gaze. You've made some very beautiful things. Elias hesitated. Thank you, but they don't feel like what I hoped. Santa stepped closer. And what is it you hope for? Elias took a deep breath. I want to make a toy that helps children feel something special, something good inside, something lasting. Santa's eyes twinkled. Ah, he said softly, a heart toy. Elias blinked. A heart toy? Yes, said Santa, those are the very special kind. But they are not made the same way as other toys. Elias leaned forward. How are they made? I smiled at him and I said, they are made with more than hands. Elias looked confused. Santa gently picked up the wooden bird from the bench. This is skillful work, he said, careful, thoughtful. He sat it down. But a heart toy, he continued, tapping his chest lightly, must also carry a piece of you. Elias frowned slightly. A piece of me? Santa nodded. Tell me, Elias, when you felt the most brave. Elias thought for a moment. Then he said quietly, when I first came to the North Pole, I was nervous, but I stayed. Santa nodded. And when you felt most kind? Elias smiled a little. When I helped a younger elf fix their toy after they broke it. And thoughtful and hopeful, Elias looked at the window. Right now, even though I'm not there yet, I still believe I can make something special. Santa's smile grew warm. Then you already have something you need. Elias looked down at his hands. Do I? Santa placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. Try again, he said, but this time don't just build a toy. Build a feeling. Then, with a quiet chuckle and a soft swirl of snow at the doorway, I stepped back out into the night. Elias stood there very still. Then slowly he returned to his workbench. He picked up a fresh piece of wood, and instead of asking what it should become, he asked something different. What should this help someone feel? He closed his eyes and thought of courage, kindness, and hope, and then he began. He carved gently, not rushing, not forcing. He shaped a small figure, a little wooden fox. Not big, not flashy, just simple. And with soft curves and kind eyes, he painted it warm, gentle colors. He gave it a tiny scarf, and in its expression he placed something he had never tried before. A quiet strength, a calm kindness, and a little bit of brave. When he finished, he held the fox in his hands. For a long moment he said nothing, then he smiled. It feels different, he whispered. The next morning, the workshop buzzed as usual. Jingle bounced by. Well, have you solved the mystery of the silent wood? Elias held up the fox. Jingle tilted his head. It's simple. Yes, said Elias. Jingle leaned closer, then blinked. Why does it feel it's looking at me? Elias smiled. Clover walked over. Oh, that's lovely. She paused, then placed a hand over her heart. It feels warm. Elias nodded. Later that day, Santa himself came through the workshop, as I always did, checking on the progress of the season. When he reached Elias' bench, he stopped, slowly picked up the little fox and smiled. Well now, he said softly, this one carries something special. Elias held his breath. Santa looked at him kindly. You've made your first heart toy. Elias felt something glow inside him. Not pride exactly, something deeper, peace. On Christmas Eve, as the sleigh was loaded and the toys were packed with care, the little wooden fox was placed amongst them. It was not the biggest gift, not the flashiest, but it was there, ready, waiting, and somewhere far from the North Pole, in a small home where a snow fell gently outside the window, a child would soon unwrap a simple toy, a little fox with kind eyes, a little scarf, and something quiet and powerful tucked inside it. Something that they might not be able to name, but would feel. And maybe, just maybe, the next time that child felt unsure or afraid or small, they would hold that little fox close and remember they were braver than they thought, kinder than they knew, stronger than they felt. And back at the North Pole, Elias stood by the workshop window, watching the sleigh disappear into the starry night. He smiled softly because he knew he had done it, not by building something perfect, but by building something real. Here's the moral of the story. The most meaningful things we create are not the ones that look the most impressive on the outside, but the ones that carry kindness, courage, and care for our own hearts. When we believe in ourselves, put our true feelings into what we do, we create something far more powerful than perfection. We create something that can inspire, comfort, and remind others of the goodness already inside them. Short, sweet, and powerful. Thank you for listening to another amazing story by Santa Papa John. Come back again, please, because this is Story Time by Santa. Ho, 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 come close, my merry friends. Pull up your blankets, wiggle into your coziest little spot you can find, and let your hearts get soft and warm, because tonight's story is full of snowy sparkles, cheerful surprises, and one very determined penguin. That's right, I said penguin. Far to the south, where the snow stretched bright and wide beneath the sky and the ice, shone like glass in the morning sun, there lived a young penguin named Percy. Now, Percy was a cheerful little fella. He had shiny black feathers, a snowy white belly, bright eyes full of curiosity, and the sort of waddly walk that made everybody smile even when he was trying very hard to look serious. Percy loved many things. He loved sliding on his tummy. He loved watching snowflakes land on his beak. He loved singing, and though most of the other penguins said his singing sounded like a teapot trying to whistle through a scarf. And more than anything else in the whole frozen world, Percy loved winter, which I suppose is exactly what you might expect from a penguin. Now, Percy didn't just love winter because of the ice and snow. No, indeed. He loved it because winter made everything feel magical. The wind painted patterns in the snow, the ice sparkled in the moonlight, the stars seemed brighter, the air smelled clean and crisp, and every morning Percy would step outside, spread his flippers wide, and say, "Good morning, wonderful winter." Sometimes the wind answered by blowing snow right into his face. Percy considered this very friendly. Now, Percy lived in a penguin village called Pebble Point, where all the homes were made of smooth snow walls, polished ice windows, and little curved doorways just the right size for a fine waddler. The village bustled with happy activities. Some penguins fished, some carried shiny pebbles for decorating nests, some practiced belly sliding techniques, and some food, and some stood in groups discussing very important matters such as, was that fish yesterday really as big as I said it was? Percy's best friend was a puffin named Tula. Tula was quick, smart, and had a beak that always looked as though it knew something interesting before the rest of her did. Isn't that interesting? She could swoop beautifully, balance on almost anything, and once stood on one foot atop a drift while eating a berry just because she felt like it. One frosty morning, Percy and Tula stood on a snowy hill overlooking the sparkling sea. Percy sighed happily. Tula glanced at him. "That's your 5th happy sigh in 2 minutes." "I know," said Percy. Winter is splendid." "It is," said Tula, "though you say that every day." "That's because it remains true every day," Tula laughed. Percy looked out across the snowfield, then lowered his voice. "I wish Pebble Point had a real winter festival." Tula blinked. "A what?" "A festival. A winter wonderland. Lanterns, songs, snow sculptures, sparkly ice paths, treats, laughter, everything." Tula tilted her head. "We already have snow." "Yes, but I mean special snow." Tula stared at him for a moment. "Percy, all the snow is special snow." Percy thought about this. "Yes, but I want it to make it more special." Now, my merry friends, whenever someone gets that look in their eye, that sparkly look that says, "I have an idea, and it may grow much bigger very quickly," you can be quite sure an adventure is about to begin. Percy got that look. "I'm going to make a winter wonderland," he declared. Tula looked around at the endless snowy beauty surrounding them. "You do know we are standing in one." "Yes, yes, and yes," said Percy, "but this will be a celebration of it." Tula smiled slowly. "Well," she said, "that does sound rather lovely." So Percy sat to work at once. He began by telling everyone at Pebble Point about his plan. He waddled from house to house saying things like, "There shall be sparkling arches, and perhaps a snowslide of unusual magnificence, And do you think fish-shaped lanterns are too much? No, don't answer too quickly. Most of the grown-ups smiled kindly. Old Nana Waddler, who wore a scarf year-round because she claimed it helped her think, nodded and said, "That sounds cheerful." Mr. Brisk, a fishmonger, said, "As long as no one decorates my sled with glitter again." Percy promised nothing. The younger penguins were thrilled. A festival with slides, music, and snacks, and lights? Percy puffed out his little chest. Yes, all of it. Tula leaned towards him and whispered, "You may have overpromised." Percy whispered back, "That's part of leadership." Now Percy had big ideas, very big ideas. He planned a nice archway at the entrance to the village, a snow maze, a grand frozen path lined with glowing lanterns, a hill for sliding races, a stage for songs, and, if possible, a giant snow penguin statue wearing a clown. Why a crown? Not a clown, a crown. Asked Tula. "Because it's festive," said Percy. "Fair enough." The first day of preparations began with enthusiasm. Percy organized a team to gather smooth blocks of snow for the archway. Another team gathered pebbles for decorations. Tula and 3 puffins collected little shells and shiny sea glass from the shore to tuck into the snow sculptures. Everything was going splendidly until Percy tried to supervise 6 things at once. Uh-oh. He waddled from the archway to the slide hill, to the sculpture patch, to the lantern table, and back again so quickly that he became what Tula later described as a flurry with feet. At one point, he accidentally told the Pebble team to bring lantern hooks to the fish shed and told the lantern team to polish pebbles for the snow maze. Nobody knew what was happening, least of all Percy. Soon the slide hill was half built. The archway leaned suspiciously to one side, and someone had decorated the fish shed with 12 lovely shells and 3 ribbons. Mr. Brisk came out, blinked once, and said, "I don't hate it, but I do have questions." Percy stopped in the middle of the square, panting. Tula walked up beside him. "You look like a penguin who has tried to organize weather." Percy slumped. "I thought it would be easier." Tula looked around at the friendly chaos. A little penguin was wearing a lantern ring as a bracelet. 2 puffins were trying to carry the same snow block while arguing politely. Nana Waddler was calmly drinking tea in the middle of it all as if confusion was a normal decoration. Tula smiled. "It doesn't have to be perfect to be wonderful." Percy groaned. "That's something people say when things are definitely not perfect." Tula noted and nodded. "True, but it is still true." Percy looked down at his flippers. "I just wanted to make something magical." "You are," said Tula. "You just trying to do all the magic yourself." Now, that, my merry friends, is a wise little sentence. Percy blinked, then he looked around at everybody. No one seemed upset. No one had gone home. In fact, several penguins were laughing. The little ones were still excited. Even Mr. Brisk had kept the ribbons on the fish shed. Percy took a breath, then another. "All right," he said. "New plan." Tula perked up. "That sounds promising." Percy climbed onto a snow crate and called out, "Friends of Pebble Point, I believe I have been trying to organize too many sparklers at once." This made several penguins chuckle. So Percy continued, "Instead of me doing all the deciding, let's each help create one part of the Wonderland together." Now the square grew quieter. Heads tilted, flippers folded, listening began. Percy pointed at Nana Waddler. Nana, would you lead the lantern path? Yours are always the prettiest. Nana Waddler smiled over the rim of her teacup. Gladly. Mr. Brisk, would you organize the treat tables? You know where everything goes. Mr. Brisk nodded, and I shall protect the fish snacks from unnecessary glitter. A cheer rose from the crowd. Tula, said Percy, grinning, would you lead the decorations and the snow sculptures? Tula straightened proudly with artistic excellence. And the little ones, Percy said, can help with the slide hill, singing stage, and anything involving excitement and loud options. The little ones shouted, hooray! Which Percy took as an agreement. From that moment on, things changed, not because the work got smaller, but because the joy got shared. And oh, that makes a difference. The lantern path became lovely. Nana Waddler and the other penguins strung glowing ice lanterns along the winding snow path, each one tucked into a little carved pocket of snow so that the light glowed soft and golden against the white. Mr. Brisk and his helpers arranged tables with treats, fish pies, berry biscuits, sea salt crackers, snow taffy, and warm cups of kelp tea for the grown-ups. The younger penguins built the slide taller than expected and then tested it 27 times for safety. Tula's snow sculptures turned out magnificent. There was fish, stars, puffins, penguins, and one surprisingly elegant snow crab. Percy walked beside everybody and then worked beside everybody, carrying blocks, smoothing paths, lifting lanterns, and trying very hard not to become a flapping snowstorm again. And as the days went on, something inside him changed too. At first, he wanted the winter wonderland to prove that he could make something grand. But now, he found himself smiling most when others smiled. When Nana Waddler lit the first lantern and said, "There now, that's cozy." When the little one squealed all the way down the slide, when Tula stood back from the sculptures with snow on her beak and said, "Art has occurred." When Mr. Brisk, who was not known for emotional speeches, muttered, "Well, this is shaping up rather nicely." The day before the festival, fresh snow fell over Pebble Beach in silver tiny flakes. It covered the village like a soft white blanket and made everything gleam. Percy stood at the top of the hill looking down at the lantern path, the sculptures, the archway, and the stage. It was beautiful. It wasn't perfect. One side of the archway still leaned a bit like it had a favorite direction. The giant crowned snow penguin had one eye slightly higher than the other, and someone had absolutely placed a tiny fish hat on the snowy crab. But it was beautiful. Tula stood beside Percy, following his gaze. "Well?" she asked. Percy smiled so wide his cheeks nearly wiggled. "It's a wonderland." "It is. And I didn't build it alone." "No," said Tula, "you helped everyone build it together." Percy thought about that quietly. Then he said, "That's better." That evening the festival began. The sky turned deep blue and then violet. Stars blinked awake. The sea shimmered in the distance. One by one the lanterns were lit. Soft golden lights lined the snowy paths. The archway glowed, the sculptured sparkles, music drifted through the cold air, and the whole village gathered in delight. Children ran from the slide hills to the sculpture patch and back again. Families strolled beneath the lanterns. Friends laughed over cups of warm tea. The stage filled with songs, some beautiful, some enthusiastic, and one performed by a penguin trio who forgot the words halfway through and finished with humming and confidence. Everyone applauded anyway. Percy stood near the center of the square, taking it all in. He felt a warm little lump in his chest. Not worry, not nerves, something better. Gratitude. When Nana Waddler waddled up beside him, "Well done, young Percy." Percy looked up. "Thank you. You know," she said, "a wonderland is not made from snow alone." "It isn't?" "Oh no, it's made from welcome." Percy blinked. Nana Waddler gestured around him. At the children laughing, at the lights, at the neighbors talking, at the stage, at the tables, at its heart. She said, "A wonderland is a place where people feel glad to be together." Percy looked around again, this time not at the decorations, but at the joy, and suddenly he understood. The lanterns were lovely, the sculptures were fun, the slide hill was glorious, but the true magic wasn't in any one of these things. It was what they created together. Just then one of the young penguins tugged on Percy's flipper. "Percy, Percy, come see. We made a little snow throne beside the giant snow penguin." Percy laughed. "A throne?" "Yes, but only for honorable visitors." "And who was the first honorable visitor?" The little penguin thought deeply, then pointed at Percy. "You!" Percy laughed so hard he nearly hiccuped. "Oh no," said Tula, arriving just in time to hear this. "A festival throne? His head will never fit through the doorway now." But Percy shook his head. "Let Nana Waddler have it first," he said. "She made the lantern path glow." The little penguin nodded at once. "This is extremely honorable." Soon Nana Waddler was seated on the tiny snow throne, wearing a berry wreath and laughing so hard her scarf slipped sideways. Mr. Brisk went next, though he insisted, "I am only sitting here because someone must represent the snack community." By the end of the evening, nearly everyone had had a turn, and somehow that small silly throne became the most beloved part of the festival. Late that night, when the stars shone high and the last lanterns flickered softly in the snow, Percy and Tula sat together at the edge of the village. The wonderland glowed behind them. "Well," said Tula, "your special snow turned out rather well." Percy smiled. "It did, and you survived leadership." "Barely." Tula nudged him. "You did more than survive. You learned." Percy looked back at the lanterns. "I thought making something magical meant doing something big all by myself. And now?" Percy watched as two little penguins ran laughing beneath the lights. "Now I think magic grows faster when everyone adds their little piece." Tula smiled. "That," she said, "is a very good thing for a penguin to know." Percy tucked his flippers against his sides and gave one happy sigh. Not dreamy this time, just full. And from that winter on, Pebble Point held a Winter Wonderland Festival every year, where there was always lanterns, always songs, always a slide hill, always treats, and always at least one decoration that leaned a little, because Percy said it made the whole thing friendlier. And whenever newcomers asked how the festival began, the older penguins would smile and say it started with a little penguin who loved winter so much he wanted everyone else to feel the magic too. And if Percy happened to hear them, he would always duck his head and grin, because he knew something important now. Wonderlands are not built by one perfect penguin. They are built by many kind hearts, many helping flippers, and the simple joy of sharing something beautiful together. Isn't that incredible? Here's the moral of the story. True magic does not come from doing everything alone or making something perfect all by yourself. It comes from sharing ideas, welcoming others, and working together with kindness and joy. When we let others help, listen to good advice, build something with caring hearts, we often create something even more wonderful than we imagined on our own. Wow, what an awesome story, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I hope you come back soon, because Santa will have another story from Storytime by Santa. Come on in, my merry friends. Pull up your blankets, wiggle into your coziest spot you can find, and let your imagination sparkle tonight, because this story is filled with snow, wonder, laughter, and a very special sleigh. This story is called The Polar Bear Cub and the Crystal Sleigh. Far, far to the north, where the snow glittered like sugar under the moonlight and the stars shone so bright they seemed to hum little songs across the sky, there stood the North Pole. Now, most folks think that the North Pole is only about workshops and toy shelves and reindeer polishing their harness bells. And yes, it certainly has those things, but it is also a wide snowy fields, frozen lakes, sparkling ice caves, and quiet hills where the wind dances over the drifts and makes the snow look like silver ribbons. And in one of those snowy places not far from Santa's village lived a young polar bear cub named Pippin. Pippin was small for a polar bear cub, not tiny, mind you, but he was still larger than a wheelbarrow and much fluffier than a snow pillow. But for a polar bear, he was on the smaller side. Pippin had bright black eyes, a curious nose, and paws that were always getting him into adventures before his good sense had fully caught up. He loved sliding down snowy hills. He loved catching snowflakes on his tongue. He loved watching the reindeer practice flying turns over the frozen lake. And more than anything in the whole world, Pippin loved sleighs. Big sleighs, little sleighs, delivery sleighs, practice sleighs, decorated parade sleighs. He loved the runners, he loved the bells, he loved the polished wood and the gliding sound over snow. He especially loved Santa's sleigh, of course, because who wouldn't? But hidden away in the North Pole's oldest workshop was a sleigh even more mysterious than Santa's. It was known as the Crystal Sleigh. Now, my friends, the Crystal Sleigh was not made for Christmas deliveries. Oh no, it was much older than that. It had been built long ago by a team of master elves who knew how to shape snow glass, frost crystal, moon silver, and winter light into something beautiful and strong. Its runners shimmered like frozen moonbeams. Its sides sparkled like a morning ice on a window. And when the northern lights danced in the sky, their colors glowed softly inside the sleigh as if it had swallowed a rainbow and kept it warm. The crystal sleigh was used only for special moments, for ceremonies, for celebrations, for the first snowfall feast. And once every year on the night of the winter welcome, it was brought out for all to admire. Pippin had seen it from a distance once, just once, and never since then he has dreamed about it. One morning, as the pale golden sunlight spilled across the snow, Pippin tumbled down a little hill near the workshop square and landed in a puff of snow right at the feet of Tinsel, one of Santa's oldest and wisest elves. Tinsel wore a long green coat, silver spectacles, and a hat so pointy it seemed to make decisions before the rest of him did. "Good morning, Pippin," said Tinsel. Pippin popped up, snow in his ears and a grin on his face. "Good morning, Mr. Tinsel. You appear to have arrived by rolling." "It's faster," said Pippin. Tinsel looked thoughtfully. "Not always." Pippin giggled. Then his eyes drifted towards the tall doors of the old crystal workshop. Mr. Tinsel, he said, lowering his voice, is the crystal sleigh really inside? Tinsel adjusted his spectacles. It is. Pippin's nose twitched. May I see it? Tinsel smiled kindly. From the doorway, yes, but only from the doorway. Pippin nodded so hard his ears wiggled. Oh, yes, sir, only from the doorway. Tinsel opened the grand workshop door just wide enough for them to step inside, and there, resting on a snowy white platform beneath hanging lanterns, stood the crystal sleigh. Pippin gasped. It was even more beautiful than he remembered. It glowed softly in the quiet light. Tiny frost patterns curled across the sides like painted vines. The seat looked cushioned with silver blue velvet. The bells hanging from the rail were clear as ice and chimed with the gentlest sound, as though they were whispering instead of ringing. Pippin whispered and stared. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, he whispered. Tinsel nodded. She is lovely. Does she fly? Yes. Fast? Very. Can anyone ride in it? Only when invited. Pippin looked up hopefully. Tinsel chuckled. That was a very large, hopeful face. Pippin blinked. Did it work? Not today, said Tinsel. Pippin gave a little sigh, though not a grumpy one, just a fluffy, disappointed one. Then Tinsel added, but perhaps one day, if you prove yourself worthy. Pippin straightened at once. Worthy? Tinsel nodded. The crystal sleigh is not impressed by size or speed or showing off. Pippin tilted his head. What is it impressed by? Tinsel smiled. A good heart. Well, now, that gave Pippin something very big to think about. For the rest of the day he wandered the village wondering what exactly a sleigh would consider proof of a good heart. Maybe it wants someone brave, he said aloud, then stopped. What if it wants someone neat, he added. This worried him a little because Pippin was not what anybody would call a tiny cub. Not messy in a terrible way, just naturally snowy. By afternoon he went to ask his best friend, Juniper, a young fox who lived near the lantern's sheds. Juniper was quick, clever, and had a tail so fluffy it looked like she'd borrowed part of it from a cloud. Pippin found her balancing on a snowbank trying to catch falling pine needles in a mitten. Juniper, he called. She missed the pine needles and landed in the snow with a squeak. That was nearly graceful, she said. Pippin hardly noticed. The crystal sleigh only lets worthy hearts ride in it. Juniper sat up. That sounds very serious. It is. What counts as worthy? Pippin slumped down beside her. I don't know. Juniper thought for a moment. Then she said, probably kindness. Pippin nodded slowly. I can do kindness. Yes, said Juniper, though do try not to do it by accident. That can get confusing. So Pippin set out to be very, very worthy. First, he helped old Miss Peppermint, a round little elf with rosy cheeks, carry 3 baskets of ribbon from the bow house to the wrapping shed. He carried all 3 at once. This would have been very impressive, except he also carried them upside down. By the time he arrived, the ribbons had trailed behind him through the snow like a parade of spaghetti. Mrs. Peppermint looked at the tangled snowy ribbons and said, well, your spirit was excellent. Pippin drooped. I'm sorry. She patted his paw. Kindness counts even when ribbons suffer. Next, Pippin tried helping the reindeer by stacking polished harness rings near the stable. He stacked them so neatly that he smiled at his own work. Then a tiny sneeze came from his nose. Ha, ha, ha. Juniper, who had come to check on him, backed away. Pippin, ha, ha, ha-choo! The ring shot in the air, bounced across the stable floor, and one landed on Comet's antler. Comet stared cross-eyed at it. Juniper covered her mouth to keep from laughing. Pippin buried his head in his paws. I was trying to be worthy. Comet gently shook the ring off and nuzzled Pippin's shoulder. It's all right, little cub, he said. You are trying to help. That's what matters. Pippin peeked out. It does? It does, said Comet. Though perhaps next time sneeze away from the hardware. That evening, Pippin sat by the frozen pond looking a little wilted. The stars glittered overhead, village lights twinkled in the distance. Somewhere a chorus of elves were practicing a song for the Winter Welcome Festival. Juniper sat beside him. You're making a face of someone who has misplaced a pie, she said. I don't think I'm good at worthy, Pippin sighed. Juniper was quiet for a moment. Then she said, maybe being worthy isn't about getting everything right. Pippin looked at her. Then what is it? Maybe it's about caring enough to keep trying. Pippin thought about that, and because he was a thoughtful little cub, even if his thoughts sometimes arrived with snow in their ears, he let that idea settle in his heart. The next morning, all the North Pole buzzed with excitement. It was the day before the winter welcome. The lanterns were being hung, the pathways were swept smooth, the crystal workshop was open for final polishing. Everywhere Pippin looked, elves hurried with garlands, trays of treats, bundles of evergreen, and armfuls of velvet banners. Pippin wanted very badly to help, but this time he decided not to start by carrying 3 things upside down. Instead, he watched, listened, and looked for what truly needed doing. That, my merry friends, is a very wise thing to do sometimes. Near the lantern bridge, he found a tiny snow hare shivering beside a broken sled. One runner had cracked, and the little hare looked close to tears. Pippin approached slowly. Hello? The hare sniffled. My name is Myra. I'm Pippin. What happened? I was bringing silver berries for the feast and my sled hit a bump. Now the runner is broken and I can't pull it by myself. Pippin looked at the little sled. It was full of delicate silver berries, tiny glowing fruits used to decorate winter cakes and pudding swirls. If they tipped, they'd roll everywhere. Pippin crouched low. I can help, he said. Myra looked doubtfully. Really? Pippin nodded, but this time he did not grab the sled all at once. He remembered the ribbon, the harness rings, the sneeze. He took a deep breath and said, let's do this carefully. Together they unloaded the berries into little baskets first. Then Pippin gently lifted the sled while Myra tied the broken runner with sturdy twine. The ribbon still looked wobbly. Pippin said, wait here. He hurried to the woodshed, found 2 young elves sanding toy blocks, and asked politely if they had a spare strip of smooth ash wood. They did. He brought it back, and with Myra holding the twine and Pippin steadying the sleigh, they fixed the runner well enough to glide again. Myra's eyes shone. You saved the berries. Pippin smiled. We saved the berries. They loaded the baskets back on and pulled together all the way to the feast hall. At the door, Myra turned and hugged one of the Pippin's legs. Now a snow hare hugging a polar bear's leg is one of the sweetest sights in the north. Thank you, she said. Pippin felt warm all the way to his ears. Later that same day, another little problem appeared. Because the North Pole is magical, yes, but it still has full of everything, everyday happenings too. At the edge of the square, young elf twins Pip and Plum were trying to string crystal lights between two poles. Unfortunately, that ladder had sunk crooked into the snow, and the box of lights had tangled into what Plum described as a sparkly noodle disaster. Pippin ambled over. Need help? Pippin looked at the tangle and sighed desperately. This time, Pippin did not leap in. He did not grab all the strings at once. He did not sneeze. Instead, he sat down beside the box and carefully held each line while the twins untangled them. You're very patient, said Plum. Pippin blinked. No one ever said that before. Plum grinned. Maybe it's your new thing. When the lights were finally hung, they glowed in a line of soft blue-white stars from one pole to the other. Pip clapped, beautiful. Pippin looked up at them and smiled. Juniper, who had been watching from a snowdrift, called out, now that is worthy work. Pippin's chest puffed a little, not in a bragging way, in a hopeful way. That evening, just as the pink winter sunset faded into deep blue, a small bell rang through the square. Tinsel stood on the steps of the Crystal Workshop. Elves, friends, and honored guests, he announced, tomorrow the Crystal Sleigh will lead the winter welcome procession as it has for many years. Everybody clapped, yay! Pippin clapped too, though his heart gave one tiny hopeful skip. Then Tinsel continued, this year we require one helper to ride beside me and carry the star lantern for the procession. The crowd buzzed, even Juniper's tail fluffed up. Tinsel lifted a hand. The one chosen must be careful, kind, and steady of heart. Pippin held his breath so long Juniper nudged him. Breathing helps, she whispered. Tinsel looked over and the crowd gathered. Tinsel looked over the gathered crowd, then smiled. Pippin the polar bear, he said, would you come forward? Now, John, if a cub can become a snow statue, Pippin nearly did. Juniper had to poke him twice before he moved. Me? Pippin squeaked. You, said Tinsel. Pippin padded forward, eyes wide. But I thought worthy meant getting everything right. Tinsel bent down and rested a hand on Pippin's shoulders. No, he said gently, worthy means caring enough to help, learning from your mistakes, and choosing kindness even when no one is watching. Pippin swallowed hard. Then he smiled the biggest smile Juniper had ever seen on a bare face. I'll do my very best. I know you will, said Tinsel. The next night, the entire North Pole glowed with celebration. Lanterns lit every path, snowflakes shimmered in the air, and music floated from the feast hall and curled around the rooftops like happy smoke. And there, outside the Crystal Workshop, stood the Crystal Sleigh. More beautiful than ever, the northern lights painted green and velvet across its shining sides. The bells chimed softly. The runners glowed like silver ice. Pippin climbed in carefully beside Tinsel, holding the star lantern in both paws. The lantern itself was made of clear crystal with a golden star flame glowing in the center. Remember, Tinsel said softly, steady heart. Pippin nodded, steady heart. Procession began. Slowly, beautifully, the crystal sleigh glided through the village. Children cheered, elves waved, reindeers stamped happily at the edge of the square. Snow sparkled around the runners as if the sleigh were riding light across the ground. Pippin held the lantern carefully. He looked at the smiling faces, at Juniper hopping with excitement, at Mira the snow hare waved both paws, at Pip and Plum pointing at the crystal lights they had hung, and in a moment he understood something wonderful. The crystal sleigh had not chosen him because he was the fastest cub or the grandest helper or the neatest ribbon carrier in the north. It had chosen him because he had learned to care, to notice, to try anything, to help with gentleness. And my friends, those are beautiful things. When the procession reached center square, Tinsel nodded to Pippin. Would you like to ring the crystal bells? Pippin's eyes widened. Oh, yes, please. He reached up and gave the bells the softest tap. They rang out pure and clear over the snowy village. Everyone grew quiet for a moment listening. The sounds were like starlight made into music. Then cheers rose all around them. Pippin laughed, a deep, happy, rumbly cub laugh. The kind that starts in the heart and comes rolling out warm and joyful. Later, after the feast and the songs and the final swirl of lantern lights, Pippin and Juniper sat together on the snowy hill above the village. The crystal sleigh rested below, still glowing softly in the moonlight. Well, Juniper, you look very official. Pippin grinned. Did I? Extremely. They sat in happy silence for a moment, then Pippin said, I used to think beautiful things were the most important part of the magic. Juniper tilted her head. And now? Pippin looked down at the village, at the friends below, at the stars above. Now I think the most important is what beautiful things help us remember. Juniper smiled. That sounded wise. Pippin nodded seriously. I got it from being worthy. Juniper burst out laughing and rolled backwards into the snow. Pippin laughed too, and from then on everyone around admired the crystal sleigh and wondered who was once ridden in it with the star lantern. The story was told of a small polar bear cub named Pippin. The cub who had sneezed harness rings onto a reindeer, a cub who had learned that a good heart is not measured by perfection, but by kindness, patience, and trying again. And every year after that, when the winter welcome came around, Pippin would stand near the crystal workshop and smile at the younger cubs and foxes and rabbits staring up in wonder. And if one would ask, how do you become worthy enough for the crystal sleigh? Pippin would bend down and say very gently, start with helping with a good heart and keep going. Wow! Being worthy doesn't not mean being perfect, getting everything right the first time, or never making mistakes. True worth comes from having a kind heart, learning from what goes wrong, helping others with care, and choosing to keep everything when things feel hard or clumsy. When we are patient, thoughtful, and brave enough to grow, we discover the most beautiful magic in the world is the goodness we carry inside us. Amazing. Truly amazing. Folks, another amazing story from Santa Papa John for Storytime by Santa. Come back tomorrow and enjoy another wonderful story. Ho, ho, ho. Santa loves you.
Fantastic job, Santa. I appreciate it. Thank you all for tuning in for Santa Stories of Impact. We are going to continue to do this every Tuesday night at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific. Summertime's coming, and we wanted to make sure that we were doing something for kids to look forward to something, get a little bit of cheer, and do some stuff. What we would like to do is we would also like to showcase your children. If your kids do something great in the community and you'd like to shout them out, send us an email, Zach@communitypayitforward.us, Zach@communitypayitforward.us. If you send it and say it's okay to use a photograph, we would gladly post a photograph as long as we can verify it's a true photograph and we have your permission. We'd love to shout out the kids. So if you would like, or if you and your program are doing something for kids, get us the information. and we will do our best to verify it. And if we can verify that it's safe and it's for our cubs, we'd love to share it with everyone. For Papa John, my name is Zach, Community Pay It Forward founder, president, and also the founder and president, since he's really confused. I'm still with the flu, okay? Still with the flu here. But of Come Together Compass and Pact Podcasting Networks. Tomorrow at 8 p.m. East, we've got my dear friend, Mr. Les Simpson. We're going to learn how your brain can really pump up your sales. So join us tomorrow for Les Simpson on Community Impact. Once again, my name is Zach Clayton, reminding everyone that if you're not helping someone, you're hurting everyone. No one needs to go it alone when we all come together. Thank you, Papa John. We'll see you next week at 6 p.m. East.
Ho, ho, Santa Papa John coming at you with some exciting news. I've got something special to tell you. Story time by Santa. You know my stories. They're now being featured on Brother Zach's website, Community Pay It Forward. This is so exciting, and I couldn't be more proud. Why? Because this is what it's all about, folks. Paying it forward, sharing kindness, and creating moments that make people smile. And these stories, well, they're not just about the North Pole and Santa. Oh no, you need to check them out. They're happy, uplifting stories filled with positive messages and meaningful life lessons. Stories that bring people together and remind us what really matters. A big thank you going out to Brother Zach for helping spread joy and bring these stories to even more hearts. So, head over to Community Pay It Forward website, check out these stories, enjoy the stories, and don't forget, share them with someone who could really use a smile today. Ho, 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 because joy has no season, and together we can keep paying it forward.
Hey friends, I've been thinking, we all have our strengths, right? There are things I'm great at and things I'm definitely not great at. I can talk to anyone, anywhere, but ask me to add something to a website or an app. Yeah, that's where things get a little messy. Oops, I love speaking, I love sharing stories. But social media, all those hashtags, algorithms, trends, that's a jungle I still haven't mapped out. Now, coming up with ideas that bring people together, that's my sweet spot. But bookkeeping, let's just say numbers, and I have agreed to stay in separate corners. And you know what? That's okay, because someone out there is good at those things. And when we work together, that's when the magic happens. Community Pay It Forward has never been about one person. It's a program built by many to support even more. Every single one of us brings something special to the table. We all have talents that make us strong on our own. But imagine how powerful we become when we combine them. That's the heart of Community Pay It Forward. Your skills, my skills, our hearts, working side by side to make a real difference. So tell me, what are you good at? Let's discover it together. Visit communitypayitforward.us and join the movement.